What are the 5 main reasons visit visas to the United States get denied? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States at our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. In today's video, I'm going to go over the 5 main ways people screw up their visit visa applications. And then at the end, I'm going to have a bonus for you, which is why getting a visit visa or even applying for a visit visa might not be in your best interest, even if you get that visa. Now, when it comes to visit visas, one of the things you have to understand is that most visit visas to the United States are denied. In other words, the State Department doesn't want you coming to the United States. That has to be your mindset, that they are assuming that they're going to deny your case, that you have a pretty high threshold of demonstrating a real reason and a real need to come to the United States. They don't want you here. They don't want you coming. And so many people go into this process blindfolded, and they don't understand the stakes. They don't understand that the natural inclination of the State Department is to deny your visit visa. So you have to have your mindset right. You have to be in charge of it and making sure that you are doing everything you can to get your case approved. The first reason that people do not get a visit visa to the United States is because they haven't demonstrated that their ties to their home country are strong enough. This is the most important factor when it comes to getting a visit visa to the United States. The State Department wants to make sure that you don't have immigrant intent. The State Department wants to make sure that you're coming for a visit and that you're going back home. You know, when my wife and I went to Egypt the second time, I was quite surprised that they keep track of who leaves the United States. So just as you are admitted and they check that you are there, they also make sure that you leave on time. In the United States, we don't really do that as much as other countries. And so in some ways, the State Department is relying on you and your promise to leave the United States more so than other countries. So what that means is that consular officials are on high alert for people who want to come to the United States and stay in the United States. So when you have that immigrant intent, or if you can't prove that you don't have immigrant intent, they're going to deny your case. The way that you make sure to beat this standard is by showing that you have sufficient ties and real reasons to come back to your home country. They want to make sure that you have property, that you have a job, that you have a bank account, and most importantly, that you have family that you're going to come back to. If they feel like you've sold everything and left every connection behind in your home country, they're sure as hell not going to give you a visit visa. Because remember, a visit visa is only supposed to be for 6 months. You're not supposed to be coming here and starting your life. It's just to come to the United States to see what's going on and to then go back. So you have to make sure that you prove to the satisfaction of the consular official that your intent is to return. Reason number 2 that visit visas get denied. People play it too casually. They think, oh, I'll just submit my DS-160, I'll pay the fee, I'll take my shot, I'll see what happens. No. This is the wrong approach. Just like with everything with immigration, whether it's USCIS or the State Department, you have to play to win. You have to convince them. You can't just say, oh, I just want to go to America and look around. I want to maybe see some friends or some family, or, you know, maybe I'll just go visit the Grand Canyon and the Statue of Liberty. No. You have to show why you're coming. Why should they give you a visa? What's the reason? You have to have a good reason. So maybe it's because your child just had a baby, or maybe it's because you want to attend a wedding. You shouldn't try to come just for no reason at all. You need to demonstrate exactly why you're coming, and the more professional you are and the better documentation that you have of why you need to come at this particular time, the better chance you have of success. All right, now the third reason that people get their visit visas denied is because they use a visa service processor. There are all these people that hang out around the embassies in these foreign countries, or they hang out online and they make promises. They promise that if you pay them their fee, they will help you submit a DS-160 that is strong and that's going to get the case approved. But here's the thing. You don't need them. And in fact, you don't need me for a visit visa. The reason I started making videos about visit visas is because our office doesn't handle visit visas. We don't want people calling our office about visit visas. So you might be scratching your head, well, Jim, why wouldn't you want that business? Why wouldn't you want to help people come to the United States? Well, the first reason is because most of them are denied. And the second reason is because you don't really need us. They're either going to let you come or they're not. There's not any great legal analysis that's necessary, and you sure as hell don't need one of these visa process people. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't want to get in bed with these people. They're sleazy. They're going to put things in your application that are false. And we'll talk about that later when I have your bonus section. We're going to talk about mistakes or errors in the application. And I'll tell you, these visa processors, they're the worst. They're the worst at putting in things that are wrong. They're almost like poison pills, things that might get you the visa now, but screw you up later. And then we're going to talk about that at the end of this video. But in other words, stay away from these guys. You don't need them. You can do everything on your own. You can do the DS-160 on your own. You can pay the fee. You can go to the interview by yourself. You don't need them. Stay away from them. The fourth main reason that visit visas to the United States get denied is because you keep applying over and over. You appear desperate. The State Department can smell it. They know when you're just so desperate to come to the United States. You keep applying over and over. You don't give it a rest. You apply right after a denial. Don't do this. Do not do this. If you want to come to the United States and your visit visa has been denied, you have to simply accept the fact that it's very, very unlikely after a denial that if you reapply, you're going to get another shot at it and that they're actually going to give you a chance to come to the United States. If you get denied, you need to chill. You're not coming anytime soon. You need to let the dust settle. And I would say at least a year before you apply again. You apply 3 months later, you apply 4 months later, it's going to look like you want to do everything in your human power to get to the United States. That desperation actually works against you. It works against you, and it's going to mean that your case is going to be denied. And then if you become one of these people who just applies over and over, that can affect you later if you ever want to come on an immigrant visa where you're married to a U.S. citizen or you have a job, or if you want to get an F-1 non-immigrant visa to come study. If you've applied over and over on your visit visa, that's just setting yourself up for future problems. So don't do it. Let the dust settle. Take your licks. Understand you didn't get your shot. You didn't make it this time. But don't show desperation. Don't show that you need to do everything you can to get to the United States, because that's going to work against you. And the fifth and final reason that visit visas get denied is because you've had either too much travel to the United States before or you've overstayed your visa. Now, some people take the approach that, oh, I got this visit visa, I want to use it as often as I can. And some people start to use it as a substitute for an immigrant visa. Of course, an immigrant visa is when you're setting yourself up for lawful permanent residence when you're getting a green card to stay in the United States. A non-immigrant visa like a B1, B2 is not a substitute for an immigrant visa. In other words, you can't just keep coming back on a B1, B2 visit visa and living here in the United States. I would talk to someone the other day. He signed a lease on a B1, B2 visa. This is very inappropriate. It's definitely setting yourself up for failure, and it's definitely going to set you up for future denial. So if you come to the United States and act like you're an immigrant and keep trying to re-enter, you're going to have a lot of problems. CBP is not going to let you in. They're going to revoke your visa, and then you're going to have to go back to the embassy and explain why you keep coming to the United States and why you're sort of abusing the visa process. This is also true for people that overstay a visa. So if you come on your B1, B2, and let's say you have a multiple entry visa, if you enter the United States, they're going to stamp your passport and give you 6 months or so to leave the United States. If you overstay that, either they're not going to renew your visa the next time you try to renew it, or CBP might not even let you in the next time you want to come. The last piece of this is when someone enters the United States, stays their full 6 months, leaves the United States, and tries to come right back. Don't do this. Big problem. That's demonstrating that immigrant intent. That's showing that you want to stay in the United States. That's telegraphing to the Immigration Service and to CBP that you're doing everything you can to stay here, and that's completely contrary to a non-immigrant visa. Remember, when you have that non-immigrant visa, it's a non-immigrant intent. That is, you don't have the intent to stay here forever. That's sort of what you're promising when that's what we talked about in sort of mistake number 1. Now for that bonus that I promised you. You may think that if you got a visit visa to the United States, that that's a really good thing. You might think that your prior applications were smart and well done, and that's why you got your visa. Well, here's the problem. Gone are the days when CBP, USCIS, or the State Department had a hard time accessing old visa applications, because right now they have access to all of it. Every single thing that you've ever filed with the State Department is now at their fingertips. It's at their fingertips here at your green card interview. It's at the CBP officer's computer when you try to come through customs. And it's on the computer of the State Department embassy official when you try to apply for another visa, perhaps even an immigrant visa. And so everything's fair game. And what that means is that if you said anything in your applications before that were untrue, and now you're trying to apply for an immigrant visa or for a green card, it really can come and bite you in the butt. And we see this over and over. We see situations now where there's no question that a marriage-based green card case is approvable and that the marriage is valid, but they're going back and digging through old, I'm talking 20-year-old visa applications. They want to figure out how you got into the United States. And so you might notice if you ever have a consult with me, the first thing I always want to know is, how did you enter the United States? What did you tell the State Department when you got your visa to the United States? Because remember I talked to you earlier about those visa services that hang out around the embassy? They do all kinds of things that you wouldn't believe. We've had case after case where someone said, well, I didn't really read my DS-160 until later on when the USCIS pulled it out and said, hey, you told us before that back in Ghana you were married. Or they said, you promised us that you were a doctor and that you were coming to the United States for a medical convention, when in fact you weren't married back in Ghana, or when in fact you weren't coming for a medical convention. So you might think that getting this visit visa to the United States was the best thing that ever happened to you and that it set you up to come here and get married. But if it's based on false pretenses, and I'm talking about even little discrepancies, they will beat you over the head with it, and it might set you up for either needing to leave the United States and get a waiver or an outright denial or finding of inadmissibility due to fraud. We hope you found this video helpful. If you need any assistance in moving through the green card process, give us a call at 314-961-8200. You can email us info@hackinglawpractice.com. Don't forget that we have our Immigration Answers live show Mondays through Thursday. Check your schedule for that. You can look in the Facebook group to find out when. If you have any ideas or questions for us that you need to send us, info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. We'd be happy to answer it, and we'll see you on the next video.